Academy, and welcome to Lesson 2.6 in Algebra 2A. Today's topic is how do you solve problems involving direct variation. These are going to be more application-based problems of linear equations. So direct variation is really just a special type of linear equation in the form of y is equal to mx. That's really all it is. The key is there is no y-intercept. Okay, so y equals mx is the form of a direct variation equation. Sometimes you will see it as y is equal to kx. Okay, k, and it's the same idea. It's known as the constant of variation. Constant of variation. But just know, in all essential meaning, it's the same exact thing as the slope. Sometimes math teachers, we just like to make it confusing for you, of course. Y is equal to kx, or y equals mx. The very important thing is there's no y-intercept. Or actually, the y-intercept is 0. Okay, that's what's equal to b. Okay, verbally, we read this out as y varies directly with x. Okay, all that means is you have y equals mx. It could also be x varies directly with y. Now, if that's the case, okay, if that's the case, then it would be x equals k times y. So the first part, y varies directly with x, is what's equal to the variable, so to speak, and then the second part. Okay, so that's just kind of getting used to how you'll see these things. Also, verbally, when we get to word problems, we'll say the number of pages read varies directly with time. All that really means is that the number of pages is equal to some constant times time. Okay, so that is really all it is verbally. I'm getting used to seeing it like that. Again, our notes, the very important thing is there's a y-intercept of 0. If there is not a y-intercept, it's just a regular linear equation. And graphically, it always goes through the origin in that case. Always passes through the origin. Okay. So graphically, checking this out here, y equals 7/4 x. All that means is our constant is 7/4. And basically from here, it's a little bit of graphing. So knowing that, so given that, I'll also state, given this is direct variation, y equals 7/4 x, we would know it starts at the origin. In this case, remember, we rise 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We run 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and from there, you just connect the lines. Doot, 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 doot. I can fix that up a little bit. And there is our direct variation equation. They can also be negative. So two things here. They could be fractions. That's okay. And they could be negative. That's okay as well. Negative 1 still goes through the origin. Then it goes down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. and over 1. And really, as long as it goes through the origin, if you have a question like, is this direct variation, and it does not go through the origin, then it would not be direct variation. Here are some examples. Verbally, y varies directly with x. Write an equation that relates x and y, given that when y is -9, x is -3. So the first part is to find the slope or find the constant. And you do that simply by taking y divided by the x. So y over x, which is -9 over 3. Well, that constant then is -3. So that is what k is. So constant is equal to y over x. What that kind of comes from off to the side here is we know, since it's direct variation, that we have the point 0, 0. And all you're doing is a whole y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and it just comes out to be y over x. So that's the constant. Okay, we now want to write an equation. So the equation, essentially, just taking this a step further, is the equation y is equal to -3x. And that's really it. Once you find the constant, you can know that as the slope. Remember, constant variation, same as the slope. And if I'm asking for an equation, okay, relating x and y, I better see x and y in there. So that is the final answer right there. Now, the variables x and y vary directly. Okay, that is another way to think of it. The variables x and y vary directly. I know I didn't mention that earlier, but that is another way. Variables x and y vary directly. Our constant we need to find first, which would be y over x. That's our constant. So -6 over 3 equal to -2. And if we want an equation, that's just y is equal to -2 times x. Boom, 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 boom. Sometimes I'll ask you to find another value, and you would just plug that in for x afterwards. Okay? Example 3. So here are some word problems. Sales tax, T, on an item varies directly with the price P of the item. So tax varies directly with price. So I know that T is equal to some constant times the price. Write an equation that relates T and P, given that a $250 purchase has a tax of 15. Now, you just have to be careful because you want to put everything in the right place. Tax of 15, that's our T. So 15 is equal to some constant. We haven't found what that sales tax is. That is what the constant will be, and times our purchase. Well, solving for K, pretty easy. Just 15 divided by 250, and that's 0.06. So K is equal to 0.06. Now that's not the equation, that's just the constant. So do not leave that as your answer. The equation is tax is equal to 0.06 times the price. You will lose points if you do not state the entire equation. That's an equation. Equation has an equal to sign. Okay? Now, how much tax would be paid for a $35 item? Maybe a little verbiage in there. But anyway, now I'm asking you to plug an item in there for essentially X or P. So paid for a $35 item, that's P, tax is paid. Tax now would be 0.06 times 35 is equal to 2.1, $2 So a lot of it is just taking your time, analyzing what is being asked, where you plug things in, and direct variation, the whole name of the game, y is equal to kx, which is also equivalent to y varies directly. To x, or with x, and also x and y vary directly. Same thing, all means this. Example 4. The amount of a tip you provide for a meal varies directly with the cost of the meal. Write an equation that relates the amount of a tip and the price of a meal. Now, yes, you can say, well, it also depends how nice they are, but in general, we'll see here, we'll just say in general, the amount of tip varies directly. So, tip and price. So the tip is equal to whatever constant times the price. Okay, well, if in general an $18 meal yields a $7.2 tip, again, first we have to find that constant, which is 2.7 divided by 18, and that is 0.15, which makes sense. A lot of times you tip 15%, so that is the same as 15%. Now that's the 0.15 is what you want to use in your equation. Remember, I want an equation, so your tip is equal to 0.15 times the price. And feel free, mathematics, it's all about real things. So a lot of times students get all worked up with what variables to use. And by all means, use actual words. Tip is equal to 0.15 times P. We just like to use variables because it just kind of narrows it down and makes it easier than writing all that out every single time. How much should you tip for a meal of $35? So if the meal is $35, well, the tip would be 0.15 times 35. Assuming you want to give them 15%, let's say it was a decent set of service, the tip then is equal to $5.25. Okay, so there would be that one. Okay, it's a really good idea to look at more examples, so we'll look at one more here. The number of bikes manufactured varies directly with the time of production. 30 bikes are produced in 2 hours. So first step, if you said to find the constant, you are correct. Remember here, so bikes manufactured varies directly. Bikes then is Y, and time, most of the time is going to be X. So 30 bikes are produced over 2 hours. Comes out to be 15 bikes per hour. That's our K, that's our slope. So number of bikes is equal to 15 times hours. So we are just using H and B. So how many bikes are made in 8 hours? Well, we'll just say B is equal to 15 times 8. And 15 times 8 is equal to 120 bikes. So 120 bikes. Okay, part C. I have one additional part here I just want to show you. Let's say instead of giving you hours, I give you 360 bikes were made. How long did this take? So remember, I should see this example in your notes. 360 bikes were made. Well, now I'm giving you B. So you would say, well, 360 is equal to 15 times t essentially you're solving for, and you just have to do it in reverse. You'd have to solve. So you would divide by 15, you would divide by 15, and you would find that that's a full day of production, 24 hours. So be careful. Sometimes you'll be solving for x, so to speak. Sometimes you'll be solving for y. But really, y equals kx is your direct variation, and that is it there. So great job, guys. Practice those problems.